Hello and welcome to SomaSong. Today I have a quick somatics practice for you that's going to really focus in on the shoulders. A lot of us carry so much stress and tension and heaviness in the shoulders. So our practice today is going to give you a really good opportunity to check in with your mind and your body and your emotions. It's hopefully going to help you relieve some tension and some stress and anxiety and whatever else you have stored in your shoulders. And hopefully it will help you regulate your nervous system and walk away feeling a bit calmer and lighter. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Abby. I'm a licensed professional counselor, a somatic therapist, a singer-songwriter, and the creator of SomaSong, which is this channel, and it's also a method of helping people regulate their nervous systems using science, somatics, and singing, among other things. If you're interested in any of those things, I invite you to hit that subscribe button and join our community. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, so go ahead and check in with yourself and see if you'd like to be standing or seated, or if you need to kind of move around a little bit to start this practice. Get yourself set up. And then I invite you to bring your awareness to your shoulders. So you might choose to close your eyes and just put your focus there. You might choose to put your hands on your shoulders if that helps you. Eyes can be open if you prefer. Just take a moment and check in with your shoulders. Feel your shoulders. Notice everything you can about how your shoulders feel. Now I want to mention that some people might find it easier and some people might find it harder than others to bring awareness to a particular body part, to feel what that body part is doing. And that's okay. There are a lot of reasons for this. It's not bad if you have trouble with this. It's a skill that takes practice. And so sometimes putting some actual tactile awareness, like placing your hands on that body part, can just help a little bit. But just notice what you can notice. Be curious. There's no need for judgment. Just notice. Would you describe your shoulders as tight today? Tense? Heavy? Light? Are there any images that come up when you notice your shoulders? There are a lot of ways that the body and the nervous system speaks to us. Sensations like tightness, tension, tingling, feelings of warmth, feelings of lightness or heaviness. Sometimes it even speaks through imagery. You might have an image of wearing a heavy backpack or having something heavy on your shoulders. Just notice what comes up. Maybe asking yourself, is there a message that my shoulders are trying to give me? That might sound really weird at first, but our bodies are constantly speaking to us. We just don't always know how to interpret their messages. So sometimes if we place our awareness and we intentionally listen for a message, something will just pop up. Often we feel sensation in our shoulders when we're stressed or when we're feeling any strong emotion, really. Is there a message with your shoulders today? And if not, that's totally fine. Just opening ourselves up to the possibility. So go ahead and release your hands if they're on your shoulders. And we're going to start by just finding a little movement in the shoulders, maybe rolling one shoulder at a time, very slowly, very gently, very mindfully, noticing how that feels. So we're not just kind of rolling our shoulders and thinking about what we're having for dinner. This is very mindful and intentional, feeling every little shift in the muscles and joints as you roll the shoulders. Maybe noticing things about your shoulders you've never noticed before. Just bringing some awareness there. And as you do so, asking yourself, is there some other movement that I'm craving? Sometimes once we start moving, we start to notice what I call movement impulses. So it's like our body telling us, oh, that feels good, or that doesn't feel so good. Let's do this next. So tune into that. Is there something else that would feel really good? And let yourself do that. Otherwise, keep going with the rolls, maybe switch directions, maybe do both at the same time. This was not the right top to wear for a shoulder rolling video. All right. Let that settle, let that relax and release. Check in. Notice if that shifted anything. A lot of somatics is just noticing what's happening and what's shifting. So start to practice with that. I notice that I'm able to take a little bit deeper of breaths right now. That's what's shifting in me. Just notice what's coming up for you. So now we're going to play with some tension and release. So maybe you noticed some tension or some tightness in your shoulders earlier. We're going to work with intentionally leaning into that tension or that tightness, because that tension or that tightness is there for a reason. It is trying to tell you something, right? It might be trying to tell you, I feel stressed, and this is my muscular system trying to protect me from that stress, trying to prepare me for that stress, right? Or it might be telling you something else. So we're going to lean into that tension, kind of telling our mind and our body that we're getting that message. And then we're going to intentionally back off of the tension. And a lot of times if we lean into the tension and then we release, we're able to release more tension than we could if we just told ourselves, hey, I'm going to relax my shoulders now. So it can feel really, really, really good. Okay, so I'm going to invite you. There are two options here. One is to squeeze your shoulders up toward your ears. Okay, that's option one, creating tension that way. I'm also squeezing my arms into my side. You can even make fists. So creating tension in an upward and inward direction. And then releasing. Option two would be to create tension behind your back. So thinking about the pointy parts of your shoulder blades drawing in toward each other. So that might look more like squeezing your shoulder blades together. And with every movement we do here, the caveat is listen to your own body. If something hurts, don't do it, right? Everybody's bodies are different. All right, so maybe try each of those out, pick the one that feels best, or maybe alternate between them. And we're just gonna do a few rounds of squeezing, creating tension, and then on the release, I want it to be very slow. So I'm squeezing, I'm holding for as long as it feels right or good. And that's a very vague statement, but you'll know, your body will tell you, I've had enough. And then we very slowly, centimeter by centimeter, inch by inch, release. How slowly can you release? Then we pause, we find neutral. We check in. Notice what's shifting. Maybe take some deep breaths if that feels right to you. We'll do it again. Whenever we're doing any kind of somatics, the goal is just to be curious. Notice what comes up. There's no right or wrong. We don't need to judge ourselves. We just stay curious. And we notice what comes up, what shifts, what's here. All right, let's do one more. Pause and notice. Now let's go back to some gentle shoulder rolls in any way that you like. It could be one shoulder at a time, it could be both, it could be backwards, it could be forwards, it could be really slow. You can close your eyes and really tune in if you like and notice if this feels any different than it did before. What do you notice as you roll your shoulders? Go ahead and pause, check in. All right, we'll do one more kind of exercise here. So in addition to shoulder tension, which is one of the most common things that I see when I'm working with someone somatically, another super common thing that I see is something with the posture of the shoulders. So our posture, how we stand, how we carry ourselves, can say a lot about how we're feeling. And changing posture can change how we feel. So a lot of times I will see people with a very rounded shoulder position. And now some of this is physical and structural. A lot of us spend a lot of our day kind of hunched over typing on our laptops or whatever. But sometimes this is a direct representation of how we're feeling about ourselves, right? So when we're feeling shame, we tend to roll our shoulders forward. When we're feeling low self-confidence or low self-esteem, we roll forward. When we're feeling depressed or hopeless, when we're in that kind of collapse or hypo-aroused or stuck on low space, we kind of roll forward. And so I like to play with that a little bit, and I find that it's really impactful for a lot of people. So I want you to just sort of lean into this sensation of rounding the shoulders, and your body will tell you what's enough. So it might be just a little bit, just like a subtle rounded forward, or it might feel like you have the inclination to really hunch forward, maybe even kind of curl up into a ball. So just kind of listen to that, do what feels right, and just kind of notice what happens. And then very slowly come to a neutral position, whatever neutral feels like to you. Notice the difference. Notice any shifts or changes, anything that comes up. And then we're going to find one step further. So a position with your shoulders that to you evokes confidence, evokes safety, evokes power. And so that position for you might be different than that position for me. It could be just a subtle shoulder roll backwards so that your chest is forward and proud. It might not look like much, but it might feel like a lot. Or we might do something more dramatic. So we might really open up our arms, draw our shoulder blades together. Maybe it's a power pose, that kind of Superman, Superwoman pose. Maybe it's having your arms out to the side or up. Try a few different things and see what resonates with your body. It should feel good. And again, that can just be a subtle standing up straight. So take a moment to play with those things. And then once you have your positions, we're going to just move between those three positions, right? So coming into that more collapsed state, not staying there long, just noticing what comes up. Moving through neutral. And then moving into that confident position. Then back to neutral. And then rounding forward. The whole time we are studying our own experience. So it doesn't have to get super cognitive here. We don't have to say, I wonder why this and that, and explain everything. We're just noticing, observing. What comes up? How do you feel? What do you notice? And if any of these positions are stirring up anything intense for you, you don't have to do them. Or you can modify, you can skip. I don't want this to feel overwhelming or scary. And so if any of these positions are triggering something strong within you, maybe this is a really good thing to bring to therapy or to talk with some sort of mental health or somatic practitioner about. But as long as this is feeling okay and tolerable and not too overwhelming, This can be just a really good little exercise to help train your nervous system that, hey, it's okay to move in and out of these things. This is a sort of like physical pendulation exercise if you're familiar with somatic experiencing. So let's keep going a few more rounds. And if I'm moving too quickly, if you're feeling an impulse to stay in any of these positions longer, listen to your own instincts. Again, everybody's different, and what works for me today might not work for me tomorrow. So I'm just here to create some guidance, some possibilities, some options. And it's your job to figure out how to make it work for you. So go ahead and finish up the round that you're on, and then we'll pause and check in. What do you notice now? What comes up? What has shifted? Let's do one more round of shoulder rolls in any way that you would like. Any way that works for you, feels good for you. Take a moment just to notice how you feel now compared to how you felt at the beginning of this practice. This could be mentally, emotionally, physically. Notice if there's been a change. And now that you've brought awareness to your mind and your body and your present experience, ask yourself if there's something else that you need. So sometimes a practice like this is all we really need in order to feel better, in order to release a little stress, in order to get ourselves where we want to be. Or sometimes it's a really good first step that allows us to connect with ourselves, check in with ourselves, and figure out what else needs to happen. So take a moment to ask yourself, is there something else that I need? Is there something else that would help me feel complete with this practice? And if the answer is yes, give yourself permission, if possible, to do that thing. And if the answer is that you do feel complete, go ahead and take a moment to celebrate, to thank yourself for doing something kind for your mind and your body. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions or concerns or suggestions, feel free to leave them in a comment below, and I'll see you next time.